We got 7 media stories from 7 different outlets, guys. It's enough time for another episode of Regan's Newsround. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Regan here with another episode of Regan's Newsround. And we start with the News with the headline that Crispin Blunt said he is the Tory MP arrested over the rape and drug allegations. The Tory MP for Regan said he was confident an investigation by Surrey police would end without charge. Now, straight off the bat, obviously we have to stress these are allegations, and very serious allegations, obviously, to make. And obviously there have been a huge amount of Conservative MPs over the past several years that we know that have had similar and different misconducts against them. There have been obviously some from Labour, but there have been far more obviously when it comes to the Conservatives, and questions need to be asked about honesty and integrity, which really has not been shown a lot. And although this is an allegation, and I have to stress the word the allegation, once again it just paints the Conservative Party in bad faith. It's just ones that are just not looking out for the interests of the British public. It's a very bad picture for his constituencies as well. So Crispin Blunt has been confirmed that he is the Tory MP arrested on suspicion of rape and possession of controlled substances. The Tory MP for Regan published a statement on X, formerly Twitter, saying he was ready to cooperate fully with a police investigation and was confident that he would not be charged. It follows reports first published by The Sun that a senior Tory MP was arrested on suspicion of rape on Wednesday morning and released on bail. The News understands that Mr Blunt, who was due to stand down at the next general election, has had the Conservative whip removed, has been asked to stay away from the parliamentary estate. It makes him the 6th Tory MP to currently have the whip suspended, 3 of whom have been accused of sexual misconduct. 6 there. 6 Tory MPs have had their whip suspended. And 3 of whom have sexual misconduct. What kind of government are they running? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Like, it really does question question this government and this party and the way they are treating people. It feels very, the questions that would no doubt needs to be raised. I'd like to think that what could the Labour government do to ensure that there is a strict code of conduct in place when they go into power, to ensure that anything like this is kind of slapped down as quickly as possible, because this should not be allowed to drag. Mr Blunt said in a statement, "It has been reported that an MP was arrested yesterday in a connection with an allegation of rape. I am confirming that MP was me." The Tory MP said he has been interviewed by police twice in connection with the alleged incident, including an initial interview 3 weeks ago and a further interview on Thursday morning. Mr Blunt, a former Justice Minister, claimed that he reported a concern over extortion to a police in an initial interview earlier this month. The MP, who has represented the Regan constituency in Surrey continuously since 1997, insisted the arrest was unnecessary, as I remain ready to cooperate fully with the investigation, and I am confident that will end without charge. I do not intend to say anything further on this matter until the police have completed their inquiries, he added. So this is the tweet, basically what we've already stated, what he's already said there. A Surrey police spokesperson said, "We can confirm a man was arrested yesterday morning, October the 25th, this was the date of it, on suspicion of rape and possession of controlled substances. He has been released on conditional police bail pending further inquiries." It marks the latest strings of sexual assault allegations against Tory MPs. Another sitting Conservative MP, who cannot be named for legal reasons, was arrested in May 2022 on suspicion of indecent assault, sexual assault and rape. He has not been charged. So there's another case of another Conservative MP, and for legal reasons can't be named, was arrested in May on suspicion. Already. Another one. Potentially. I've deeply sympathised with civil servants and those who have to work under these MPs. I really, really do. My heart goes out to them, because they're the ones who don't get, who have to put up with this all the time. I feel for them, I really do. Peter Bone, remember him? The former Tory minister was given a 6-week suspension from the House of Commons earlier this week for bullying and sexual misconduct against a member of staff. The investigation found Mr. Bone exposed his genitalia close to an employee's face in the hotel bathroom during a parliamentary trip to Madrid in 2013. Mr. Bone had dismissed the incident as pure fantasy and not true, and said that exposure alone did not necessarily conduct sexual conduct. It is. We don't need to have a discussion on that. His suspension means the Conservatives are likely to face another by-election in his seat in Wellingborough, Northamptonshire. It will mark the 8th by-election held this year alone, all but one triggered by a scandal or rebellion. Chris Bencher, the former Deputy Chief Whip, who was also sacked last year for groping 2 men in a Tory private members club, the Conservative lost his former seat of Tansworth last week after a huge Labour swing that overturned the party's majority of more than 18,000. A further 2 Tory MPs have had their whip removed following sexual misconduct allegations alongside Mr. Bone. Senior Tory MP Julian Knight was suspended from the party in December after a complaint against him was made to the Metropolitan Police. The Force dropped the investigation in March, saying no arrests had been made, but his bid to have the Conservative whip restored was rejected over further complaints. 4 women have since complained to the parliamentary authorities about Mr. Knight since the Met dropped its investigation into the MP. Mr. Knight, who was elected Conservative MP for Solihull, strongly denies any wrongdoing. So it looked as if he denied the allegations and no arrests had been made, no follow-up had been made, and now 4 women have since complained to Mr. Knight. So are they not going to follow up on that, the Metropolitan Police? Like, surely they would take... they can't ignore the complaints, surely. Again, another allegation, but still. Rob Roberts, the MP for Delyn in North Wales, was stripped of the Conservative Party whip in May 2021 after an independent panel had found he had sexually harassed a member of staff. He was suspended from the party for 12 weeks following an investigation and now sits as an independent MP. These aren't good, are they? It comes despite Rishi Sunak's pledge to get rid of the party of Tory sleaze and led the world in standards of integrity, decency and leadership when he became Prime Minister last year. Oh my God. Yeah, really, really hollow words, aren't they? Since then, several cabinet ministers have stepped down over bullying allegations, including Sir Gavin Williamson and Dominic Raab. Sir Gavin stepped down in November last year after being accused of sending abusive messages to a fellow Tory MP, land of bullying and a senior civil servant while serving as a Defence Secretary. The MP said he had refuted how his conduct had been characterised. Meanwhile, Mr. Raab resigned as Justice Secretary in April this year after an official report into the bullying allegations found he had acted in an intimidating manner towards civil servants. The Conservative Party was approached for comment. Obviously, they're not going to comment on it, most likely. And they'll say and if they did comment, they would say they don't want to speak on a specific allegation while there's a police investigation. Is the other thing as they would say. Obviously, this is very serious allegations over Crispin Blunt, and obviously, have to wait and see how the investigation goes. And obviously, if it's found that it's to be true, then obviously he should have the whip removed and a by-election to take place in his constituency. It's they seem to be piling up. It's just so dishonesty and disgusting. And like I've said, guys, I deeply sympathise with the members of staff who have to work with some of these Conservative MPs who allegedly who've done these sexual misconduct or harassment or any kind of abuse or whatever that they may have suffered. I really do sympathise with them, because at the end of the day, these members of staff and employees are just there to do a job, and they're being treated and some of them allegedly being treated completely inhumane, and it is absolutely disgusting. And I'm sure most of you, the vast majority of you, will agree with me in that regard. So we're going to move from there to The Guardian, guys. This one here. So the headline is: the ministers warn English councils not to adopt a 4-day working week. Central government's attempts to restrict councils' ability to try out the practice is a massive overreach, says council leaders. Now, how do I feel about a 4-day working week? I would personally, this is my personal preference, I would rather work longer a day. So rather than working 8 hours a day, I would be happily to work 10 hours a day. That would be equivalent. Roughly the average would be like so in my previous job I was working 37.5 to 40 sort hours over 5 days, guys. Now I would be more than happy to do that within 4 days. So that would essentially mean roughly about 10 hours a day in order to do 4 working days and to work the same amount and to earn the same amount if possible. I would be more than happy to do that if it means getting another day off, which means more time to do other things. So if it is from that regard, then yes, but I wouldn't do it if it means that I would get less pay. Working 4 days meaning that I would get less pay. I don't know how you guys feel about 4 working days, but I think it's something that should be looked into for sure. But is this the right time to be looking at it? Or when is there ever a good time to look at it? I mean, the thing is that, you know, we're struggling with things. There's a lot of other issues right now, and is this one that really we need to be talking about? I think it's worth discussing whether implementing it is probably another thing. So, ministers have formally warned councils in England to abandon any plans to adopt a 4-day working week for staff in an escalation of simmering political row over town halls' working practices. Government guidance issued on Thursday said councils that have adopted 4-day weeks should end their practices immediately, while any authorities planning to embrace it in future should stop any trials immediately. The guidance appears to be the latest salvo in a war of words between the government and South Cambridgeshire District Council, which is believed to be the only English authority so far to experiment with the 4-day week. The council has said it is continuously trialling of the practice, in which one office staff and bin collectors are paid the same for working 20% fewer hours. It has already helped it improve recruitment and has led to over $500,000 in savings on agency workers. Hold on, let me read that again. In which office staff and bin collectors are paid the same for working 20% fewer hours. You know what? I'm not sure about that. They're getting paid the same, but working less. I'm not sure about that. I'm kind of torn on that. Like, I honestly think it should not be paid the same if you're working less. Because then you're creating that. Because the reason why I say that, guys, is because it creates that. When somebody is working a normal five-day working week, and they're working like 37, 40 hours or whatever, and I'm working, let's say hypothetically, I'm working less on 4 days and I'm getting the same pay. Like if I'm the other guy, other guy or girl, I'm going to be upset. Like, I'm going to be jealous. I'm going to be very envious of that person. And that doesn't sit right with me. I think it should be the option of, if you're, obviously every job and everything is different, but my general consensus, in my opinion, and many of you may disagree with this, is that if you work 4 days a week, you should work more hours if you want the 3rd day off. If you're working standard really practice is 8 hours. It's the standard, but 10, I don't know about 12 hours, 4 days over 4 days. Not sure about that, but some people can do it. But my personal preference would be, I would happily work 10 hours for 4 days, 40 hours a week. That's more than sufficient for a working week in that regard. But I think, for working 20% fewer hours, that's going to create unnecessary tension and jealousy, and it's going to stir the pot. It's going to stir the pot if you're going to do if you're going to have someone the same work, same job, and they get to work 20% fewer hours. I don't think that's a very good idea. I really don't. For me, if you're going to adopt a 4-day week, you need to. They need to be working the same amount of hours, in my opinion. At least initially. Supporters of the 4-day week have called it a win-win for workers and employers because it improves staff well-being and productivity. In the private sector, some companies have adopted the practice after running trials. However, the government believes that a 4-day week does not represent value for money and is concerns service quality will slip. The guidance issued vetted warning that ministers will take unspecified necessary steps to ensure the practice is ended. Why are they going out of their way to end it is the question. What are they benefiting from trying to force the practice to end? Nationally, council leaders are furious ministers are seeking to restrict council's ability to initiate locally. One source called the guidance a massive overreach by central government. It is not clear whether there is yet any huge appetite among English local authorities to adopt a 4-day week. Norwich City Council last month said it would look into the feasible of trialling a 4-day week. The Scottish Government is looking at piloting 4-day public sector working weeks later this year. The Minister for Local Government, Lee Rowley, said the government is being crystal clear that it does not support the adoption of a 4-day working week within the local government sector. Local authorities that are considering adopting it should not do so. Those who have adopted it already should end those practices immediately. He added, those councils who continue to disregard this guidance shows they are now on notice that the government will take necessary steps in the coming months ahead to ensure that this practice ended with local government. This is what they're going to do. They're going to basically say, if you don't end it, we're going to reduce the amount of money you get from government. The councils are struggling as it is, and they're going to threaten them to take money away from them. Is what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. To push and bully them around. That's what they're going to do, basically. So, yeah, but that's basically what they're going to do, and you know that's what they're going to do. The guidance says that councils are undertaking 4-day working week activities should cease immediately and others should not seek to pursue in any format. Value for local taxpayers is paramount and no further focus should be given by local authorities on this matter. The department is also working and exploring other measures to ensure that the sector is clear that this is a working practice and should not be pursued. Clear Maritime, chair of the Local Government Association Resources Board, said more than 9 in 10 councils are experiencing staff recruitment and retention difficulties across a diverse range of skills, professionals and occupations. It is councils who knows what's best for their community's workforce and the wider labour market conditions. It should there be free to pivot in innovation solutions to address local challenges and deliver crucial services to their residents. Local voters should be the ones making a judgment on whether local council leaders have made a good choice in delivering value for local taxpayer. However, the leader of the South Cambridgeshire District Council, Bridget Smith, hit back at the government. And she said, every decision that we make centres on what is best for the communities who elect us. Our offices are open 5 days a week, and we can be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in emergency, like during last week's flooding. Local councils should always be free to decide the best way to deliver services for any residents they represent. On one hand, the government tells us to innovate to cut costs and provide higher quality services. On the other, they tell us not to initiate and to deliver services. We are best placed to make the decisions in our area, which has high private sector wage and housing costs, making it difficult to attract and retain talented staff that we need to deliver for residents and businesses. On the subject of councils, they should be allowed to decide for themselves whether they want to adopt the practice or not. This is, like I said, this is bullying from the government. I don't see why they need to push this whatsoever. It's clearly that they don't want. Clearly there are mouthpieces in central government saying you need to shut down this whole 4-day-a-week nonsense. It's basically, I think there's mouthpieces going on in there allegedly who are telling the government you need to stop this. We want workers to work longer, and we don't want them getting the same pay for working less. Is basically the gist of what I'm feeling about all of this. Now, I've made my opinions about the 4-day working week. I think if you're going to work 4 days, I don't think it's right that working 4 days and you get more pay for less. I don't think that's right, especially when everybody else is working more and getting the same pay as you. It just doesn't sit right with me at all. I would be extremely envious and jealous of somebody who is doing the same job as me but working 1 day less. Now, if that person has a disability or something like that, then it's a completely different story. But if it's another person who is more than capable of doing the job the same as I am, but is working 1 day less and getting the same pay as me, understandably, I'm going to be jealous, upset, and frustrated by it. because I'm working one extra day, getting the same pay as that person, while that person gets to have a free day. Don't know about you, but it doesn't feel right to me. That's just my personal preference. But central government needs to stay out of the council's business, and like I said, they're gonna probably take money away from them what they'll do is they'll threaten to take like funding away from them if they don't do as they're told. Basically, it's what I fear that will happen. Yeah. So guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share across social media. That would be greatly appreciated for me. So next one here we got, guys, is from Sky News, and it's actually a really good one. It's a nice positive story. So Cardiff has been revealed as the UK's first child-friendly city. The globally recognised UNICEF status aims to celebrate communities where children's rights are at the centre of policy and services. That's right. The UK's first child-friendly city has been revealed. UNICEF UK has announced that Cardiff is the first city in the country to be awarded the status. The globally recognised award aims to celebrate cities where children's rights have been embedded in policy and services. As part of the process, UNICEF UK works with councils and their partners over a period of 3 to 5 years to achieve this title. The status recognises progress, not perfection, according to UNICEF. Cities and communities have to develop a sustainability plan outlining how they aim to build on progress. At the start of the period working with UNICEF, cities have to set out an action plan and those objectives reviewed against the evidence councils submit. So how did they achieve this, guys? That's really good. Commitment and hard work. Cardiff Council has worked with organisations across the city to implement projects and strategies to support children and young people to make the most of their rights. As part of Cardiff's work on children's rights, more than 5,500 council and partner staff have completed child rights training. A total of 3,595 children and young children have also received participation and rights training. The Chief Executive of UK Committee for UNICEF, John Sparkies, said becoming the first UNICEF child-friendly city in the UK was a testament to the significant commitment and hard work of the councils and its partners. Children's voices at the heart of local decisions. It also marks a promise to Cardiff's children and young people that the councils will continue to make sure children's voices are at the heart of local decisions, he added. Leader of the Cardiff Council, Councillor Hugh Thomas, said that the council's aim was that all children feel safe, heard, nurtured and able to thrive. The foundation of this change has been development of a rights respective cultures across the council and citywide partners to ensure staff are knowledgeable and confident regarding their rights and their practices. This has been supported by policy where it has empowered children and young people to be meaningful involved in any decisions that matter to them. This is great. This is a nice little story, guys, here, and we need some positivity, obviously, so in the UK, because we don't really get much. But yeah, if you have children and they live in Cardiff, you've got quite a good future ahead of you. So a very nice little story there. Like I say, if you want to have a read of it yourself, the link is in the description. But not a nice one to say the least, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that one. So back to the bad news, shall we say, as things continue rolling on. This is regards to national healthcare services from the BBC, you guys. So the headline is the NHS waits could exceed 8 million by the summer, a charity has said. The numbers of people waiting obviously has been going up, guys, as you guys know. Was it like 6.8 million or something is in waiting, NHS waiting time currently, before I even read the article? Something like that. Probably you guys can say in the comments, have a guess as well. But yeah, the National Healthcare Service is just not coping at all. It's not coping at all. And it's going to be absolutely horrific this winter for them. And I deeply sympathise with all the NHS workers who are going to have to go through hell again, as if they are already going through hell throughout the year. But 8 million people on an NHS waiting list, guys. So NHS wait list could top 8 million by next summer even if doctor strikes cease, according to modelling work by the Health Foundation charity. It says industrial action has only contributed by a small amount, lengthening the list by about 210,000, or 3% of the 7.75 million total by August. Okay, so 7.75 million, yeah, that's chronic shortages of NHS staff and funding are the main drivers, it said. Yep. Not enough funding, not enough staff, not getting paid enough. They just want it to run to the ground, and they want everyone to turn to privatisation. That's what they want. They want people to pay out of their pocket for their healthcare. And this is how you do it. By killing the National Healthcare Service, you're forcing people to the privatised sector because people need to be healthy. So it forces people to cough up and pay out of their own pocket in order to get the healthcare they need. NHS England says more than 1 million appointees and procedures had to be rescheduled because of the NHS strikes. That figures including walkouts in England by nurses and other healthcare professionals who are asking for better wage. The modelling is not a nailed-on prediction or projection. It is an attempt to understand what is happening to waiting lists for patients and claims. A worst-case scenario could see the strike action continue and growth in hospitals' activities a third lower than the current trends at 5.2% a year, resulting in the waiting list continuing to grow and reaching 8.4 million by the end of 2024. 8.4 million. Oh my god. We need radical change immediately. We need this change in government soon. Like it's not. Problems continue to mount. They just continue to mount, guys. A better case scenario could see the strike action stop and the rate of hospital activity growth increase by a further 10.4%. With the waiting list peaking in October 23 and then falling below 7.2 million by the end of 2024. So if they stop the strikes, the number will be much less. But there's no sign of them looking to give the workers a better pay. Both NHS England and the Health Foundation says NHS work has ramped up to see more patients and clear the backlog. Monthly referrals for treatments are now back to pre-pandemic levels and growing at a faster rate, which is a positive sign. But the wait list is still rising as the number of treatments does not get exceeded by the number of referrals. Behind all the numbers are people anxious for a diagnosis, patients in affordable pains, and lives put on hold, says Charles Tulloch from the Health Foundation. Patients are waiting for treatment ranging from hip replacement to surgeries to remove cancerous tumours. He said the pandemic heaped further significant pressure on an already stressed system, but waiting lists were already growing long before COVID. An NHS spokeswoman said there had been important progress in building down the longest waits. The 2-year waits have been virtually eliminated and waits of more than 65 weeks have more than halved. She stressed that the NHS was still seeing high levels of demand. Yeah, the numbers are still not going down though, still not going down. Tim Mitchell, President of the Royal College of Surgeons of England, said, "To tackle waiting lists in a meaningful and sustainable way, we need transformative solutions." Yeah. Continuing to invest in surgical hubs across the country, focusing on the areas with the longest waits, will allow surgeons to operate more effectively. Hubs protecting planned surgeries from stoppage during busy periods when resources are diverted to emergency pressures. Crucially, we must also improve staff morale and retention. The government's commitment to grow the healthcare workforce is welcome. However, recruiting staff is only half the solution. Provide supportive, well-resourced working environment is vital. Yeah. The British Medical Association, which is a union for doctors, has said that doctors have gone on strike precisely because it is only with a fully staffed and fully valued NHS care that the elective care can be put back on the path to normality. Time is rapidly running out to get credibility pay offers on the table, which would end both strikes and boost the recruitment and retention of the workforce need. Yeah, exactly. Like this, as we've seen the statistic in there, guys, it will make a massive difference if you can end the strikes. Now, obviously, it's not going to stop. It won't stop the trend, but it will slow the trend, shall we say? But rightly so. Sadly, there is going to have to be reforms in the NHS. Now, obviously, I don't want to point point towards the private care, but obviously most of the NHS is under private ownership. But at this point, but they've got to do something when Labour get in power to do. They've got to do something different, and hopefully they will have a very clear action plan ahead of them. And if God forbid, if that the strikes continue all the way up to the general election, that would be absolutely horrific. And hopefully Labour will get around the table and offer a reasonable, fair pay for these for the workers, because the pay is just absolutely atrocious for them. It really is not being good enough, to say the least, guys. So, guys, we're going to just break things up a little bit. We've just hit the half-an-hour mark, believe it or not. There's been some what's that? There's been some broken news that's just come through, guys. Give me 1 second. And I've just knocked something over. Well, hopefully you guys can hear it, because I won't be able to.
Welcome to Broken News. Tributes have been paid to an online activist who shouted themselves to death on the internet. It happened just hours after the 23-year-old aggressively demanded everyone else to #BeKind. Our reporter has more.
For years, recycled coffee retailer Justin Foreskin had compassionately been screaming blue murder at people, gently encouraging them to shut the fuck up and treat each other with some fucking respect and compassion. But doctors have confirmed today that Mr. Foreskin had shrieked up his own larynx, sicked himself empty, and suffered a hypocritical aneurysm after recording a video in which he called J.K. Rowling a Nazi over 264 times. In a statement, his family said, "He was the kindest person we knew. He cared so much for people, but Justin was at his best when he was threatening to dox female politicians, or when he called for that TV presenter to have their head stoved in for having a slightly different opinion than him on something." Doctors say the cause of death, where repeated use of capital letters causes a build-up of rage in the hypothalamus, is becoming more and more common. They're urging people affected to get a prescription of anti-being-a-dickotics. Back to you.
What a lovely story. That's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
Sad end indeed. I managed to put my headset in just right at the start, so to hear that for you guys. But that's Larry and Paul. They dropped that video as of today, so do check that out, guys, in full, and give them a like and like and share and all that jazz, guys. Absolutely wonderful work they do, guys. So we've got 3 more stories for you to come through. Let me make sure I've got the right one here. While I'm just getting it set up, just to make sure it's all set up, guys. Make sure you hit the like button. It'd be greatly appreciated, and share it across social media. It really does help the algorithm, guys. And just a little hefty reminder: can you turn off and turn back on your YouTube notifications, because I believe they have not been working on my channel lately, which is why my viewing numbers have been down this week, because the notifications have not been working. So if you're watching this, can you please make sure you turn off your notification and turn it back on, because that might be the reason why it's not been working. Might just get back working, because it has been an issue, because I've seen a lot of people in live chats lately been saying they've not been notified of when I've been going live, guys. So please do that. We greatly appreciate it. So this next one from the Independent here, it says data says thousands of banned dogs living in Britain in British homes with owners. So most of the dogs are in England are pit bull terriers. So there was a short story that I covered this week where one of the Americans' dogs has been banned. The American XL Bully, I believe it was. Apparently it was considered a danger to communities, which in my opinion, I feel it's generally harsh, because it's not so much to me. Like, obviously, I'm not a dog owner, so maybe you guys can educate me in the chat, in the live chat, or in the comments after this. But my opinion is not so much about the dog or the dog breed. It's about the owner that raises them and how they raise them. And I think that from that perspective, that's where the key matters. Not so much about the dog, but the owner, the ownership and responsibilities of the owner and how they raise them. I think is more fundamental rather than the breed. But that's just my preference, really. I mean, some of you probably say differently, that maybe certain breeds are more dangerous than others. And that's probably, then that is a fair case. But I think if they're well looked after and they're given the love and care, they shouldn't be such vicious. They shouldn't end up being vicious animals. You know, bad dogs are normally under bad owners, really. So, the government data says more than 3,000 banned dogs living in homes in England, Scotland, and Wales. Following a Freedom of Information request, the BBC obtained data from the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs (DEFRA), which showed that 3,499 banned dogs are registered, with 3,316 of them in England. Most of the dogs are pit bull terriers, with 147 banned dogs in Wales and 13 in Scotland. Currently in the UK, according to DEFRA, there are 4 dog breeds that are on the Dangerous Dog Act's ban list, including the Pit Bull Terrier, the Japanese Tosca, the Dogo Argentino, and the Fibra Brasileño. Apologies if I botched the names, guys. These dogs breeds can be taken from owners unless they are placed on an index of exempt dogs, which is obtained if the court believes the dog is not a danger to the public. Right, so you have to go out of your way to prove that that dog is not going to be a danger to the public. That costs a lot of money to do, I bet. Last month, after a string of attacks, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said American XL Bully dogs will be added to the Dangerous Dog Act list by the end of the year, calling the breed a danger to our communities. Earlier this month, a woman was injured after she was attacked by her own American XL Bully in Norfolk. Oh, that's a shocking one. Last month, Ian Price, a 52-year-old man from Staffordshire, died in hospital after being attacked by 2 American XL Bullies. In November last year, Jack Lisa 10 was killed by an American XL Bully while at a friend's house in South Wales. The owner of the dog, Amy Salter, and Brandon Hayden were jailed as a result of the attack. But is that a result of the owners or a result of the dog? Again, I asked that question. The Environment Secretary said this week that the UK government is pretty close to bringing forward the proposed ban on the breed. Theresa Coffey says she thought a good definition of dog type had been agreed, with only a few other things such as compensation needed to be signed off. Mrs Coffey said the UK government estimated there were about 10,000 American XL Bullies in the UK, while the Blue Cross Animal Charity suggested it was more like 15,000. Yeah, you're not going to know the exact number because there's obviously lots of illegal dog breeds taking place as well. That is rife. That is a situation. That is a cause problem, not just in the UK but US and lots of other countries where dogs are illegally breeded in places and then they're sold on the black market, aren't they? Don't get me wrong. Those stories about what the American XL dog has done is absolutely horrific, and I'm not justifying it in any way, shape, or form. But just because of a couple of instances doesn't mean that breed should be banned outright. I question that. No, I generally, my personal opinion is that it's always down to the owner to make sure that they are well looked after and they are given the love and care they need, and they are trained in such a way that they don't become an issue to other people. I think that's my main kind of gist of it, guys, but maybe you guys will disagree with me on that. Yeah, I know. It's a difficult one, to say the least. Right, I've got one more story after this one, guys. So this is from Open Democracy. I'm pretty sure I haven't covered this one, but you guys may have heard about this already. So Suella Braverman is facing fresh legal challenge over the treatment of asylum seekers. The refugee charity Care for Callous is seeking to sue the government for segregating asylum seekers in the RAF Weatherfield. The mishandling of asylum seekers has been absolutely disgusting and appalling by the Home Office and the Home Secretary, and it's been despicable. It really is despicable and inhumane, to say the least. These are human beings with emotions and feelings, just like you and I, who just want to have a better life. Now, you can argue that perhaps there are some may come with the intention to do harm to our country. That is entirely possible, and yes, there is a premise of that. But the vast majority have fled from war, from famine, or their lives have been in danger. There or because of climate change. The temperatures have made it impossible for them. These people, the vast majority, want to work in our country, contribute to society, and pay their taxes. They just want to have a better life, not just for themselves, but some are for their children. And I just don't understand why we are treating them so indifferently, so inhumane. It is sickening to the core. And this Home Secretary, we thought the last one was horrible. She is absolutely vile. She really, really is. Suella Braverman faces a fresh legal challenge over the government's treatment of asylum seekers held at the former RAF base that has been compared to a military-style prison camp. A military-style prison camp. These are not prisoners. These are not prisoners. They have not broken any laws. Remember that. They have done nothing wrong. They're not prisoners. They haven't broken any laws, internationally or UK. Refugee charity Care for Callous is seeking to sue the government over its policy of warehousing asylum seekers at the RAF Wethersfield, in which it claims amount to a form of segregation and quasi-detention. The legal challenge comes weeks after asylum seekers in Wethersfield, a remote 800-acre site in Essex, ringed by security fences, guards and CCTV, told Open Democracy they had been locked up in solitary confinement for complaining of depression. Think about the mental health side of things there, guys. They've been locked up in solitary confinement because of complaining of depression. You're putting them in a goddamn prison. For what? For coming to the UK because they want a better life for themselves? In a private press briefing attended by Open Democracy today, Care for Callous said it's bringing the legal challenge after hearing testimonies from its clients living at the barracks. A pre-action protocol letter issued by lawyers representing the charity accuses the Home Secretary of failing to fulfil her obligations of ensuring an adequate standing of living and health for the asylum seekers under the Immigration and Asylum Act of 1999. The letter states that the measure, short of a 24-hour physical confinement where they substantially deprive a person of their liberties, may amount to detention at common law. Ali, 24, who escaped the Taliban earlier this year, told Open Democracy that staff at the Wethersfield locked him up in a room for 2 days after he complained that being held there was causing him to be depressed. "They've done this to me twice," he said, adding that this has happened to other people too. He continued, "If they go and tell staff that they don't feel well or they have depression, they lock them in a room for 48 hours and make them quarantine, and they're not allowed out. Wethersfield is like a prison. It doesn't feel like we're the kind of home or hotel room. We've just been thrown into a military-style prison camp." The two other men living at the barracks told the website of a prison-like conditions are affecting their mental health. Braverman is accused of separating asylum seekers, most of whom are non-British, mainly of whom are from ethnic minorities or non-white from a wider UK population. That sounds like pure discrimination right there, guys. It comes across as pure discrimination. Like, just because they're not British or because of the colour of their skin, why does that matter? Why does it matter? It should not matter. They're human beings just like you and I, guys. It really, really is that simple. But no, they have to treat people indifferently. It's just disgusting. Care for Callous's legal challenge also raises the absences of an effective screening process for asylum seekers due to be accommodated at Wethersfield. Survivors of torture and modern slavery, of those who suffer from serious mental health conditions, are routinely sent to the barracks, the charity said, but are transferred to hotels when their cases are individually raised in individual pre-action protocol letters. So in an attempt to basically avoid any kind of sue or condemnation, when it gets raised, they shift them out to the hotels and bring someone else in who won't talk about it. In a press briefing today, several days ago at the time of this recording, Care for Callous said this happened up to 20 times in the past few months. 20 times this has happened, apparently. And that's the ones that they've recorded, not ones that they've not heard of, allegedly. Wethersfield is already the subject of a legal challenge from Braintree District Council, which objects to the Home Office plans to expand the site's capacity. A High Court case was brought to the Council on the 31st of October. We'll also hear evidence about the inappropriate use of the RAF base Scampton in Lincolnshire, which is due to open in weeks and house up to 2,000 men. The government has until November the 7th to respond to the letter before proceeding to a full judicial review is initiated. Yeah, let's not get that face out of there, guys. Yeah, I hope that this challenge succeeds in the courts if it is found to be true, and necessary action is taken against the Home Secretary, because yeah, I've heard nothing but terrible things, and I think maybe one time I might have heard one good thing about her, but yeah, she really is very vile to say the least, guys. And yeah, I deeply sympathise with those who are in those conditions and being treated indifferently simply because of who they are. But it's also the private company that also is running, looking after the refugees, because it's not run by the state. It's not run by the state in any way, shape or form. It's private companies that are doing it, and they're basically trying to give them the barest of minimums of standards that they need to live in these accommodations, because they want to milk the taxpayer as much money as they possibly can, because that's how it's working, isn't it? I think it's one company that's behind most of the vast majority of them as well. Yeah, not a nice one. We got one more story for you guys. This is from Byline Times. It's a bit more broad, but it is also related to the UK as well, this one. So the headline is "Relief for some Afghan British Council teachers stuck in Pakistan, ongoing anxiety for others." So a while ago I covered a story, quite a long time ago I covered a story about how there were Afghans, refugees in Pakistan who fled the country, obviously from the Taliban, and obviously they were granted asylum from Britain, and they basically just been stuck in Pakistan on a waiting list, waiting to come to the UK basically. And it's just, for some reason, it's taken a couple of years for the British government to kind of sort something out. But it looks like here potentially maybe there might be some being picked up. Maybe I did read in one report somewhere that it might be, but I have to wait and see. So while the British government demonstrates demoralises refugees, thousands of Afghans, including British council teachers, are in danger of deportation back to the Taliban. So it sounds like it's probably not, from the sounds of this article. Yeah, this is just to remind people about the refugees in Pakistan. So at present, over 3,000 Afghans are waiting in Islamabad, hoping to get confirmation that they are booked onto flights to the UK, and desperately hoping not to get sent back to Afghanistan. Yeah, so some of them are in fear of Pakistan sending them back to their home country, because the government is unless they have certain paperwork or certain things to give them assurances that, hey, that they're under British, under the terms of Britain, of the United Kingdom's government, they can still send them back. So they are in fear. There are some Afghans who are in fear of being spotted by any Pakistan security or military in the country, that will essentially, if they find that they're in the country and they don't have paperwork or whatever with them, basically they can get shifted back to their home country and could find themselves killed, which is, yeah, it's and they've basically been living in fear, basically, because they desperately want to get on that flight to the UK and not get sent back to Taliban. These Afghans are all eligible for relocation to the UK under the British government schemes to relocate those who assisted the UK's mission to Afghanistan. The government now faces a race to get them safely out of Pakistan before they are deported back to Afghanistan and back into the arms of the Taliban. So it looks like Pakistan are kind of losing patience with this. In late September, the Pakistan Military of Interior announced plans to deport all Afghans present in the country without valid visas starting from the 1st of November. That's in just a few days. This includes most of Afghans waiting in Islamabad. Jesus. 3,000 there. There's still 3,000 apparently. At present. Among this cohort of displaced Afghans are more than 60 former British Council teachers. The teachers of all taught English and UK values across Afghanistan have been the victims of Taliban persecution as a result. The British Council has long been the target of Taliban hostility, with multiple violent attacks on the British Council staff and premise over the years. Since August 2021, the teachers have again been the victims of Taliban threats and violence. They have lived in fear of their lives since the new regime took power. Although the teachers were unfairly excluded from the UK government's RARP scheme back in 2021, they were eventually accepted into the ACRC scheme, Afghan Citizen Resettlement Scheme, and over 60 are now waiting in Islamabad. They were told to travel to Pakistan by the FCDO, where they were to await relocation to the UK. Most have now been waiting there in limbo for over 9 months. Part of the delay has been attributed to the lack of suitable accommodation for them in the UK. And they were recently advised to expect to continue waiting in Islamabad until they could find their own accommodation in Britain. But their lives are in danger here. Their lives are in danger here. They're going to die if they get sent back. And Pakistan are basically saying, we're not holding you guys anymore. Get them out of there. Like, forget right now about accommodation. We're talking about their lives here, okay? Just get them out of the country. Get them out of the country and get them here, yeah, for their sake. Just get them out of the country. Their lives are in danger here. Yeah, sort out the accommodation when they're here. Just get them out of there. Their lives are in danger. The government has recently reversed this decision, seemingly realising that the Pakistan Ministry of Interior plans to deport Afghans which expired visas were too serious and too consequential to ignore. Indeed, it would pile shame upon shame for the UK government if allies were already abandoning in 2021 was to send them back to persecutors they had temporarily managed to escape. Yeah, it would be a bad image for the UK government. From late last week, British Council teachers in Islamabad started to report being offered accommodation in the UK. This is a massive breakthrough as they have been waiting over 2 years for the news. For the few who have received these encouraging updates, the news is still tingled with fear that they could still be picked up and deported before being allocated a flight out. For all the other teachers still waiting in Islamabad, the anxiety and uncertainty goes on as they continue to wonder if they will receive a call from the IRM, International Organisation of Migration, telling them that UK authorities have identified suitable accommodation for them and they are scheduled to board a flight out of Pakistan imminently. So far, although none of the British Council teachers have been deported back to Afghanistan, many have been questioned or harassed by local police. They have endured a challenging wait in limbo in the country and never expected to be stuck in for so long. Most of the teachers have been cooped up with families in a single hotel room with little furniture or space. Several have had new babies while waiting to relocate, while others are currently pregnant. They have no access to education or healthcare, and with the expired visas, they have been confined to their rooms for months. All those waiting in Pakistan are desperately hoping for an update on their situation and confirmation of UK accommodation and a flight before next week's deportation deadline. Meanwhile, more than 30 other British Council teachers remain hiding in Afghanistan, still awaiting response for the FCDO regarding the ACRS applications, or still waiting to get passports and visas so they can flee to Pakistan and then to the UK. Well, how can they flee to Pakistan if Pakistan are basically going to tell them you're not welcomed here? If they're going to do that after the 1st of November. The travesty of the abandoned British Council teachers have been an embarrassment for the UK government and the British Council for more than 2 years now. It is crucially they both learn the important lessons from this experience and ensure they do not leave their allies behind in the future. All the teachers did dangerous work at our request, and some had worked for the BC for over 10 years. They were all shocked when their managers and office staff from the British Council in Kabul were included in the original ARAP scheme and relocated to the UK before Operation Pittance, while the teachers themselves were all left behind. This is outrageous. These guys stuck their necks out for us, and this is how we're treating them. This is outrageous. Hopefully, recent adjustments made by the UK government will mean that the teachers will now get fairly treatment that they deserve. While it will have taken over 2 years for this adjustment to be righted, as far as the teachers are concerned, the response is better late than never. For now, all those in Pakistan continue to wait on tenor hooks, hoping the UK government can allocate accommodation on them on flights before the Pakistan government starts to actively deport them. Just like I said, guys, just get them out of there now. Get them out of there now. Okay, never like. I understand you need to make accommodation. I get that. But we're talking about their lives in danger here. Serious danger here. Because Pakistan are not going to have it anymore. Get them out of there. Get them on flights. Get them to the UK. Like, if you've got to buy out a hotel just to get some of them in, just do it. Just get them out of there. I'd rather that my taxpayers goes to them being stumped up in a hotel. At least they're knowing that they are safe. Because right now they're not safe where they are. And that's the scary thing. They're not safe where they are. Some of them still stuck in Afghanistan. And now some of them could potentially be kicked out in Pakistan from the 1st of November. And it's very scary to say the least, guys. It really, really is. And I do fear for them. But we have a Home Secretary that really does not care about migration. That really does not care about immigrants. We have a very vile Home Secretary who is ruthless when it comes to the handling of asylum seekers and migrants. And I do worry for these refugees. I really, really do. And on that sad note, guys, thank you very, very much for watching this episode of Regan's Newsround. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Just another reminder before you go to hit the notification icon as well, the bell notification icon. If you've already got it on, turn it off and turn it back on, because YouTube, it might fix the notification for you guys, because I believe that is the reason why my viewership numbers have been down this week at the time of recording. So hopefully from next week they will come back up. So if you can, obviously hit the like button and share across social media, be greatly appreciated as well. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.